right, so we had an assignment last week. I wanted everyone to bring a towel, like a hand towel kind of size, or a bath towel that you would then fold up. Some people didn't remember, so we've got some blankets in the house. I actually kind of forgot. I probably would have remembered at some point, but thank you guys. So I'm going to just show you as an example. This is actually just a cut up piece of yoga mat. And it is kind of nice if you can get it, first of all, about the width of your rib cage, right? We don't want it wider because then it kind of interferes with your arms. And it's nice if you can get it kind of tight. So if you find that this feels really good to you today, you might just create a little roll. Maybe you put some rubber bands or something and you kind of maintain that. And let me say, the reason we're doing this, we did a wonderful shoulder practice last week. Some of people were even commenting that they've got some good, like sore kind of upper back muscles and down into here where the lat armpit connection is, side body, which really affects shoulder joints. And so this is another way to reorganize our upper body and by effect, our entire spine. It's pretty incredible. So if our shoulder head is rotated even a little forward, our wingtip of our shoulder blade will bump out. It doesn't have a choice. The trapezius muscle that people complain vociferously about right here is not just right here. It also connects down to the wingtip of the shoulder blade. So this place where most people complain about being sore and tight has no choice but to be tight if that shoulder head is rotated forward and that wingtip is out. What we need to do is to be able to externally rotate, in a sense, the arm and then the shoulder joint to get the wingtip of the blade to tuck back in. And so that's what we're actually doing. And we're placing an object right along the bra strap, assuming that, you know, yours hasn't done that horrible thing they do when they stretch out and then you tighten the straps and then the draw strap is up on your blades, right? That's not where we want it. I know we've all had that experience. Well, some of us have it. So where you're going to be placing it before you lay down is like right here. But I will tell you that even the difference of a half an inch might be the spot. Okay. So we've in the past done this for years, but we've done it using a block. And then it can create its own conundrum. Even if you're tucking something under your head, pull on your low back. So I'm going to essentially come on down to my forearms. If you've had something you didn't have to hold to keep it on rolling, you just place it and come down by kind of holding it. So I want to keep it tight. And then I'm going to kind of adjust it to where I think is that spot right down from my shoulder blades. And then I'm going to recline over it. And I'm going to notice, in my case, I'm like, you know, I think just slightly up, yeah, would feel great. I'm having you do something this low because I want to be able to hang out there a little bit. I want to be able to breathe. Today, you know, we're not going to spend 5 minutes here, but at home, if you could, it could be incredible. I do this a lot when I have people on my massage table who have just been so sort of chronically, you know, forward, like so, that, you know, no amount of me massaging to loosen up here is going to get them there, you know, in an hour and a half. And so often I'll work their back, then we'll flip them over. I'll put the towel underneath. And what's amazing is by the end of the massage, when they get up or I take it out, they're like, oh, I completely forgot that was there. The body is just so excited to reorganize around that. Once you are there, we have basically a couple things, movements you're going to do, and I'll just show you when you're not laying down. One is just rolling the head side to side. And a reminder that when I roll my head one direction, I'm talking to muscles and tissue and fascia. Let's see, I can still feel it here. Yeah, all the way like down to here. Okay, so just that gentle rolling in that new alignment can free up all those deep connections, the innervations at the spine. I mean, it's really pretty profound. Then you're going to add a movement one arm at a time. You'll take your arm up to the ceiling, palm facing the center line. Then you're going to slowly reach for the wall behind you. And everyone gets very tempted to try and reach for the wall and bend their arm. Please don't do that. The active straightened arm, that kind of karate chop, is part of the evolution that we're trying to get. So just doing this with the bent arm is not going to get us there. And we don't care if you ever touch the floor, the wall, or anything else. What we want is arm karate chop straight for you to go as far as you can. And then you're going to let the arm go away from the ear and towards the ear. And if at some point you feel like it would feel good, just rotate your face away and allow that arm to keep going towards the center line. Similar to what we did last week when we crossed right ankle on the left and then took that right arm, right, to get into that side body stretch. Right? So this is just a really, really lovely stretch. And I would point out, it is an amazing one to offer people in your life who might never darken the door of a yoga studio, but you recognize are dealing with neck pain and potential risk for falling, because as soon as our shoulder girdle and our head comes even a little forward, our center of gravity is forward and it doesn't take much to pitch us, right? So this is something you can offer people that's very safe and easy for the most part. You might help them obviously get settled, but as long as they can get down on the floor or even in a stiffish mattress, you could do it. So, all right, I'm gonna pass this out to you, because I think you love it, and oh, good, you got your roll, wonderful. You might want to just re-roll it so it's not so wide. And then, you know, if you've got a big blanket, again, you're rolling it so it's the width of your rib cage. You just leave a long bit of it, tail of it unrolled behind you, and that works fine. And you can always roll it up less or more. This is another thing that we've sometimes used, or I've given people in class. It's a little kind of bean bag, but I like the preciseness of this little roll. And again, you can make it more precise depending what you have at home, and you can put some rubber binder around it or what have you. All right, so you're gonna go ahead and place your object gently where you want it. You're gonna come on down to your forearms, elbows, etc. Make some adjustments. Keep the knees bent. I want you to, as you're getting settled, I mean. So you've got a lot of control, you're in your core. Then recline over. Palms rotate towards the ceiling. You should feel that external rotation that I described of the shoulder joint that allows that opening through where the chest and shoulder joint connects. Yeah, and let me know, please, if you're kind of like, this doesn't feel great, or I'm not sure if I did it right. Yeah. And if anyone would like, if you're using one of the, again, the bigger rolled up blankets, I know they don't really stay very tight. If you'd like to use the bean bag instead, if anybody wants that, give me a wave. I'm happy to bring it to you. All right. What do you think? I see some nice deep abdominal breathing happening, which tells me that there's also, for some folks, a sense of kind of relaxation, of settling into it. So glad. Good. Again, if you have any questions or needs, let me know. Otherwise, now go ahead and start rolling your head side to side. No, you can straighten the legs and lay flat if your back is comfortable with that. I just wanted your knees bent while you were reclining because that puts you safely in your core. Thanks so much for asking. Yeah, so head side to side. Oh, good. I'm getting a thumbs up. Yeah, one person had kind of too much of a roll and it was kind of flattening out down here instead of a smaller roll right below that wingtip. And if you're somebody who has known neck discomfort, particularly on one side, I'm hoping you might even be able to get a sense of that here. Sometimes it's when you rotate towards the side that you feel a little pressure, or, you know, impingement's too strong of a word, but I think pressure in like the rhomboids and so on. So kind of all those areas between the trapezius, the spine, the shoulder blade, that kind of Bermuda magic triangle of intensity. Good. And maybe at some point, just come back to center and let's have you take a few sighing breaths before we add the arm option. Inhaling slow deep and wide. Tell you, I think one of my favorite things might be being in a room with people sighing. It just immediately makes me feel like all is well with the world. It's gonna be okay. As you're ready, you can add the arm, taking the arm straight to the ceiling, then reaching for the wall behind you, one arm at a time. You got it. Karate chop straight. So check that that elbow gets a like click. Then reaching, it means spreading through your fingers. Really reaching. Get long, slowly keep reaching for the wall behind you until you sense you've gone as far as you can go without bending the arm or anything else. And then pulse the arm away from you and towards your ear, just out and in and out. And in. Yeah, you can just leave your other arm relaxed. So there's a little more right there. Keep that one. And I didn't say this, so thank you for your patience. Try to have your palm facing the center line. So your thumb is facing the floor. That will also change your stretch a little bit. Okay. So pulsing again, at some point, you might then bring that arm towards the center line and letting your face rotate away from your arm. So again, you're reaching for the wall behind you. Yep. And so if you've got your right arm, you're going to keep going and you rotate your face to the left. If you're using your left arm, you'll rotate your face to the right. You can even kind of intentionally elongate through a flexed heel, for example, to intensify that side body stretch. And as you're ready, slowly come back, take at least one breath, kind of integrating with just in corpse pose, and then we'll find the other side. Other arm goes straight up to the ceiling. This is your chance to kind of check. Can you get your arm karate chop straight? Like as you're looking at your elbow, because I find a lot of times people think their arm is straight and it's not. And sometimes you need to almost literally karate chop something and be like, oh yeah, then hold that. Again, fingers spread, palm facing the center line. Gorgeous. Keep reaching until you sense you've come to your stopping point, and then keep reaching as you pulse your arm away and towards your ear. Is this side different in the shoulder joint itself, in that long lat line kind of armpit to hip connection? I'm always happy to hear from you if there's something you're noticing and you're not sure what to make of it. This down and in while we're doing this? You're not necessarily intentionally activating the shoulder blade in, although now that I say that, I mean, try it. You know, if it feels good, nothing wrong with that. But I am mostly wanting, like I said, all this active reach through the arm, and other than that, kind of relaxed, in part to just let all of the tension through that area between the blade and the spine kind of reorganize. Yeah, thank you. That's a really good question. And when you feel complete with that side, again, just settle into corpse pose. You can always add a sighing breath, but I'm going to have you very intentionally walk your shoulder blades in now towards the spine. Give them a little extra tuck, letting the palms rotate even more towards the ceiling. Draw the shoulders down the back. And a couple more rounds of just head side to side. And at some point when you come back to center, I'm going to invite you to stretch in the other plane where you're going to reach your chin Up and back towards the wall behind you. And return and bring the chin towards your throat. And up and back. And so the chin towards your throat is with your head still on the floor. There's no sit up happening. The next time you're up and back, hold and rotate your head a little right and a little left, kind of wagging. And that should bring you a little into these deep neck muscles, SCM, scalenes, that are such grand participators in a lot of our dysfunction and our pain. Right, come back to center, and if you're still comfortable, we're going to just stay here a little while longer. I'm going to have you come into lion stretch. So taking a long inhale, open your jaw as wide as you can. You can have lion claws if you want. Inhaling, relaxing, or reaching. Remember, you can draw the tongue down like someone's using a tongue depressor. You can stick it out and forward. And then lastly, again, if you're still comfortable here, I'm going to invite you to come into your breath attention. You can come into our points of introversion, turn the gaze up and in towards third eye, light connection, tip of the tongue, roof of the mouth, softness through the rest of the mouth and jaw. Add your ujjayi, great sounding breath. And just notice the breath rising and settling, that wave kind of undulating the body subtly. And my hope is that the shape that we've cultivated with that support of your little roll just feels beautifully open, supported, and maybe even kind of neutral. And maybe you'll even forget that you had that roll there. Right. When you do come off of your object of support, actually, one other little thing that I sometimes do, I forgot to offer this, is sometimes I will intentionally, in the laying down position you're in, push my back into the roll and release. And sometimes when I do that, I will get a clunk, clunk, a spinal adjustment. So feel free to play with that before you come off of your roll. It's just a pushing down and releasing. Then please roll a little to one side to come off your object of support. Go ahead and the best you can move it out from under you and then come back into corpse pose without the roll. And I'd ask you to just scan and notice, how does this feel? Was that useful? What might need changing or adjusting to make it better? Lovely. Let's come into abdominal pumping. Inhale slow, deep and wide as if it's all you ever do. Then pumping, draw the belly in. Press it out. See how skinny I am? Big Buddha belly. Skinny, big Buddha belly. And I'm hoping you're feeling a whole lot of stuff moving. You are, in fact, moving all of your internal organs, digestive. You're affecting your diaphragm. Take a sighing breath or whatever feels good. Let's do that again. Again, you're just laying down in corpse pose, but as people notice, you can do this standing. You can do it all kinds of places. When I do this quite firmly, like I really press my belly out and I really slowly, firmly draw it in, gosh, I sometimes feel a stretch into that upper and cervical spine where we've been talking about. Lovely. We're going to come into bridge pose. We're going to place the block between the thighs if you've got one. We're also going to just come in and out very slowly with the goal of the slowest descent you can muster. And that means you're actually going to be using your butt and thighs to slow down like one rib at a time. So I'm going to exhale and rise up. Make sure my shoulder blades are a little bit in under me. Then on the inhale, I'm going to kind of tuck my tailbone so that I can articulate the rib right by the shoulder blades. and then down below the blade where that roll was, and then continuing down until the sort of kidney area lands, and that little lower in the sacral. Good. Complete your inhale, never cut that short, that's the goods. And exhaling, rise up. Is there more? Is there more? When the inhale arrives, get a very slow articulation. Here's a nice Ujjayi out. So please continue that for a couple more rounds. Continue to think about anchoring through the entire footbed versus letting the weight come into the heels and the toes coming up. Think about rooting and spreading all four corners of the feet. The next time we are up, we're going to add our foot hover, so you might want to remove the block. You can also adjust your arm position. I really like having my upper arms connected with the floor, shoulder blades in. And then as I raise my hips to prepare for foot hover, I bring my hands onto my hip bones as kind of a measuring awareness of hips even. And I don't want to let a hip drop as I slowly hover one foot off the floor and then the other. What I'm going to ask you to notice as you go back and forth, of course, is the hip dropping? Can you ignite strength in the standing leg and butt to bring it back up? But also, what's happening in your neck? So I have one side where I can still keep the hip even, but I end up having to use a lot of like propping strength through the shoulder and neck, right? And I say a lot. Maybe it's subtle for you, but like it's present. I want you to see if instead you can divert that propping strength to the standing butt thigh. And of course, just kind of keep track of those little clues on the clue trail, like, oh, this side is not quite the same. All right. Then when you're ready, come on down, hug knees to belly, a little rocking side to side. Ah, excellent. Then we're gonna plant our feet flat, cross right ankle onto left thigh, give it a little wag. You got it. And then we're going to bring the whole wheel towards us, hugging the right knee as tight as possible. I take my right hand around from underneath, so my right wrist is kind of on the back side of the knee and leg. And then I bring my other arm kind of up and over and hug. That's how it works best for me, but whatever you want to do. Get the knee as tight to the chest as you can. And descend everything towards the center line. Usually only takes a couple inches max before you're feeling it in this case, the right hip and glute area, maybe even into hamstring and T-bands and so on. And remain soft in the neck. You could adjust and play with your ankle, maybe taking your hand to the foot, playing. Sometimes I have the left leg in this case. I've got the foot kind of up. Other times I'll drop it by the butt. I'll just play with what gives me the best ability with ease to create a powerful edge. And of course, we know the breath is a key part of that, right? When you are ready, we're going to switch. Take time. It might feel good to like point and flex and roll and bend and straighten that leg that was the crossed one. Just gives everything, all those connections down to the knee, a chance to kind of recalibrate. We're doing a couple of hip stretches today that really get into some of those connections between the groin and the inner knee, for example. And the goal is to get a good stretch without hurting any of the joints, including the spine. So I'm going to ask each of you, especially those who have no knee problems, to be discerning. You just need to edit out completely and be like, oh yeah, no, I'm not doing that. Or you want to explore it, but very cautiously. Breathe, notice. All right, as you're ready, we're going to release, plant your feet wide. Again, give your left leg, in this case, a moment to recalibrate, going flat and straight. Then take those feet wide. Go ahead and lift the hips just briefly into horse riding stance. And then we're gonna do our little windshield wiper, right knee down in towards the center line of the mat. Keeping the left knee mostly upright, I find it's the better stretch and puts less strain on the lower back. It can also allow you to really experience side to side differences. Like on this side, I'm feeling the stretch all the way into my lower abdomen on the right side, into that deep psoas and so on. Left leg down. Notice what you got. Notice it can take a few breaths for the body to feel that it understands what we're asking and to organize around release, right? And you'll find that's very true in the hip stretches we're going to do. All right. We're going to bring the soles of the feet together in butterfly. And then raise the hips a little bit off of the floor. And make sure you're kind of tucking the tailbone a little bit. Not a hyper tuck, but I don't want to be arched. I don't want to be collapsed and letting the tailbone collapse down. I'd like to feel strong and relaxed at the same time. And I remind you that's a kind of a wonderful general principle to remember with our body is that when the right things are strong and organized and supporting us, then the other things feel safer in letting go. You know, the body's genius. So I was like, I'm going to hold you together no matter what, right? But we want to use the right stuff. Okay. Coming on out when you're ready, let those hips settle. Marvelous. We're going to come up on our hands and knees, and we're going to do a little cow cat, etc. And then we're going to be coming into some of our hip stretches. And I'm wishing now actually that I had more blankets because when we do the second one, having your knees on a padded surface might feel really good. But you can also double up your yoga mat or always go grab another one of my mats in the back. Okay, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Hands and knees, cow cat. Intelligent hands, tailbone draws back, foot draws forward. Exhaling, tuck the tailbone. You can let the head hang. And while you're here exploring, just notice what your body might crave. Like one of the things that I love is sending my ribs one direction and then looking out over the other shoulder, kind of intensifying side direction. And at some point, coming back to center, I'm going to ask you to notice where your core is at. It's already there and supported. How you'll notice, feel a clap. If it's not, notice that it's not in your habit wheelhouse to be in your core, that you have to consciously say, okay, I don't want to collapse and hang my joints. I'm going to engage. And then we're going to just limit right hand, left knee, barely off the floor. Breathe, stay soft on the neck. Slowly switch. And ideally, there's no collapse, there's no compensating, sliding side to side, nothing. It's almost like you've got a cup of tea on the back, and you can keep it from tilting to tilting and tilting. I was just talking with somebody the other day about tea and like the old fashioned tea cups, because I have a bunch of them at Third Mountain Retreat, and we actually use them for like desserts and things like that. And I was like, can you imagine trying to drink tea out of those and be polite in society? And like, one little movement, you've got teas flopping over the head. All right, friends, we're going to come into our first hip stretch, and then we'll come back to the one that has you on your knees. So the first hip stretch, you're going to come onto your butt, and let's all do the same leg. So I'll have you take your left leg in front with the sole of the foot coming in towards the other thigh. You got it. And then the right foot is angling. You got it. Now, you used to sit this way all the time. Yeah. And for some people, it actually can be much more comfortable than like full cross-legged things. Really can be difficult for people. But a lot of us now, maybe used to sit this way all the time, might notice that our right butt is not going to the floor. Yeah, I'm curious, how many people's right butt is on the floor without even trying? Like, are you there? 2 of us. And that didn't include the 24-year-old, but it would actually, because he has an amazing range of flexibility. Okay, so see if you can take your right, which is your back leg, if you will, so that the shin bone is straight back versus tucked in by your thigh. Okay. And then you're gonna have your right foot flexed, really, both feet flexed. And then I'm gonna have you just see if you can kind of pulsingly press your right butt cheek towards the floor and release. What's that? It's cramping. Yeah, and don't hesitate to have a little support off to the left. That might relax your spine a little if you're feeling like you're afraid of just tilting completely. Okay. And just take a couple of breaths and notice kind of like tracking your brain, like what's happening in your body. Where's the holdup? And then I'm gonna use my hand and lean on it to just safely, peacefully release. And if you wanted, you can take both legs out and you can strap out. I love doing this little whack, thigh whack, dig whack minies. It's just a nice way to get muscles warm. And a reminder, you don't want to do any of these really deep, again, fascia, such stretches when you're cold. So we're in a nice warm room. We've already done some stuff. So I'm gonna bring my right foot around the front. And I'm immediately noticing, that right hip thing I've been talking about, and it's a little bit there. It's like, oh yeah, hello. And I'm going to lean on my right hand, hit my left foot behind. And again, I'm going to try and pop my left shin bone straight back. If you want to start with it tucked in and just sort of, that's a little easier. Try and see then if that left butt cheek is on the floor, if it's closer to the floor than it was when you had your legs the other way, farther, you get the idea. Then if you can, again, if it hurts your knee, don't do it. You can always tuck your foot back in, but otherwise bring it so that shin bone is straight back, heel flexed. And then just see what it's like to try and bring your left butt cheek down. Of course, remember breathing. And that's how the body knows that you're paying attention, that you're safe, kind, you're not going to slam it into some position that's going to regret. Just try to notice how this side maybe. And then slowly come on out. Again, I like to always release pressure from the stretch before I try to unwind these little joints. Okay. So the stretch that we're going to do next, I used to teach this a lot. We would do it probably once a month. And I kind of got out of the habit. I think mainly because I have a lot of people for being on their knees. Going to be tough, the froggy, you got it. And what happens is you end up being, you're not on this part of the knee, you end up kind of on that inner part a little bit. And this is the line that's being stretched. What's kind of fun is you're also getting a deep release through that outer line for so many of us are so tight. So you're gonna, first of all, I want to also point out, we want to not go to the max, okay? So we're gonna try and go to like maybe 80%, and then we'll add little activities that intensifies it. So I'm gonna start with my knees present, and I'm gonna just slowly walk them out. Noticing again if there's any, pain or what have you, and then we did add more padding. If anybody needs blankets that nobody else is using, please be a good community member and just go for it. And then see if you can come down to your forearms. That's a more stable place that also allow you to be in your core. And then see if you can walk your heels out so they're straight down from the knees. Feet flexed. And breathe. And then notice, hopefully the stretch will continue to evolve. And you might sense, oh, I think I can go a little bit lower. I think I can widen my knees out a little bit. And, again, this is a great example of one of those things I say, we're going to our edge. There is intensity to say hello to. Breathe and notice, and we're going to hold for another 30 seconds or so. Again, you might find that there's cause for a little adjustment. Stay connected in the core so that your hips feel and are safe. What happens if you engage your glutes just a lot? Let your attention, your inward attention, be loving. Let it be very appreciative of the body, its strength and its flexibility. Yeah. Right. If you're like, hey, you know what, this actually feels great, I don't want to come out yet. Fine. Otherwise, just relax your foot flexion a little bit. Yeah. I find it helpful to come back up on the hands before trying to then bring my knees in a little bit. That's just me. If your body's instinctively wanting to bring it your way, please go for it. And then what I love to do is come up to standing with your block hand. And we're just going to do a nice counter engagement, which is mountain with squeezing the block. So you're now really engaging a lot of what we stretch. Yeah, so we're really upping our intelligence through pelvic floor and whole pelvic girdle. You know, a big part of what keeps this area back here, where so many people are sensitive to injury and so on, and kind of body stress. Big part of what keeps this happy is actually this stuff that work, whatever you just felt when we work, that stuff being both strong and flexible. Yeah. So as we stand here for just a few more moments, kind of squeezing and unsqueezing, any questions, any noticing from that frog stretch? I'm noticing, I feel like I can ignite in that deep inner groin area better in this pose than I usually can after that stretch, which I've never done them back to back. So that's kind of new. It's like, okay, it's awake. Because things that are just tight, perpetually tight, are almost asleep. Like they don't even know who they are with their job. Great. Well, since we're here, let's add our arms, because again, to take advantage of some of that beauty that we created, that openness and strength earlier. So what I want to do, let's actually do a little jet airplane first. Rotate the palms forward. Check that you're not sending your ribs forward. I want to stay neutral. You can even kind of look and imagine that your arms or your hands are right by your hips. But then slowly sweeping out. Keep anchoring down through your entire foot back. And at some point, as you're making your way up, see if it feels natural to just rotate the palms in. And ideally, we'd love, again, our thumbs to keep working their way towards the wall behind. The middle fingers and the rest reaching towards the ceiling. Again, we don't care how far we get. We're interested in the alignment. In an ideal world, this arm would actually come alongside my ear. That never happened to me before, but finally now, 30 years in, on a good day when I'm not too tight, I can do that. Breathe and notice. Maybe some of you are experiencing some flexibility that you can take advantage of. You might bring those hands closer towards each other. Maybe you can even bring them into kind of holding a piece of paper. If that bothers your neck, then don't do it. Otherwise, keep letting those shoulders slide up. And when you feel ready, just release. Maybe prayer hands to the chest. And then we'll release the block. Again, always interested in any questions and noticing. We're going to move sideways on our block, our mat. And some of you might use a block here. If you like, we're going to be going side to side and straddle. This is something we do a lot, but I'm curious to have you experience it with your frog, right? So going side to side, remember you always want to anchor and push through the footbed. The pushing into the floor is actually what keeps your knee joint safe. So if you're letting your blade of your feet rock off the floor, you are not in an active pushing mode. You're just kind of flopping the body back and forth. I want you to look at your foot and make it like a tree frog little foot. Whoop. Keep that. I'm going side to side again. I just sometimes use that block to kind of creep my way back and forth with a little more ease. So that all my big weight isn't into that area. Some point, hold to one side, and before you kind of go deeper, make sure that your foot is as wide as it comfortably can be. What you don't want is your knee trying to go past your ankle. That's actually going to change your foot alignment and put pressure in the joints. So find a place that feels pretty darn strong and fantastic, and then hang out there. See if you can even let the head hang. Notice just where you intend your hips and butt to be really makes a difference. So if I intentionally think about sending, I'm over to the right, and I think about sending my butt and hips to the right and kind of back a little bit, it will radically move the stretch I'm getting my left. Breathe and notice, and if being hands on the floor doesn't feel good, you can do five. No, so you're straightening one leg and bending the other, right? So I straightened my left leg and took my hips all the way over to the right for this stretch into the inner left thigh. Does that make sense? Yeah, nice. And you're keeping the feet anchored. Thank you guys for giving your attention to that. It's really key. And of course, you might also notice the breath is amazing. I always call it the change agent because it really can transform things that nothing else can. Go to the other side if you haven't already. Notice what's different. Again, really anchoring through the footbed, especially that straightening leg. You can let the head go, enjoy. And notice what happens if you add more core to the belly to spine. Maybe you think about folding more deeply. And you're like, oh yeah, more stretch. I was thinking about who would get my straddle, go down and then just, oh yeah, yeah, she was amazing. Oh my gosh, I should reach out to her yet, tell her that was amazing. I just. Yeah, it's really, fun when you see people who are free and strong in their body in a way that you aren't. And what is really cool, what I want to mention, and thank you for your comment, you guys, whenever you're ready to come out, nice and slow, hands on thighs for support, etc. But is that there have been so many times in my life where seeing someone else do something that just looked so yummy allowed me to actually kind of approach it and eventually some things do. Like where I was like, oh man, I'll never be able to do that. But just like noticing, like, God, that looks amazing to be that strong or fluid. And that desire drew me forward. Yeah. Yeah. Noticing, sometimes after I come out of a deep stretch like that, I find a little hip pump, right? You're already doing it instinctively, is really helpful. So it's just a big squeeze of the glutes and release, a big squeeze of the glutes and release. Oh, nice. Yeah, little hip circles. Why not? Awesome. All right. Let's do just a little warrior lunging. I think it feels really good. So we're going to return to straddle. Let's all, yeah, face however we want. We're far enough away, you're not like awkwardly. So, all right, again, I want my whole foot back. I don't want to be rocking out onto the outer foot. And then I'm going to just rotate that right foot 90, really place intention through my left anchored foot and pushing off to send my hips towards that right heel. And we're going to pulse. Pulsing is so much more interesting than holding. I know you almost never see it in yoga. There's always that like, and hold. Yeah. Let's see. Business field. See what it feels. Yeah, and see what you think. See how your knees go. Good. Okay, come back to neutral. Let's do the other side. We'll come back in and hold, but this pulsing is our chance to get kind of warm everything, especially after all that reorganization. Noticing differences. You know, there's the obvious stuff, right? That deep in your thigh. But for example, one of the areas that we're communicating with as we pulse in and out, it's all around the sacrum, the sacral tuberous ligament, which is really big and really tough, and sometimes gets lit up from accidents, injuries, and so on. And it'd be very interesting to notice that here. Another little just detail I'm going to mention because it's super common. There's a real habit that's very common in standing and in warrior of swinging the hips kind of forward, right? So I catch myself doing it standing, and it's very easy to do in this pose too. If people's hips might go to the outside of the mat, basically. We don't want that. So, you know, just for fun, everybody, let's return to the right foot 90 degrees. So warrior two. Put your hands on your hips. So like right here where the thigh crease is with your hip joints. And then I want you to intentionally swing your butt behind you to the right. Look down at your right thigh and notice that it's at an angle. Your right thigh, the front one. Yep. And then swing out to the left. And notice how it feels in that left hip, kind of hyperextend. If you, especially if you have your fingers right in here, you will notice it's not great. That's not a neutral joint position. That's hyperextended, etc. So you can do that back and forth, and somewhere right in that middle zone is a powerful, peaceful neutral. And in that neutral, you can engage your inner thighs. Like imagine you're trying to shorten your yoga mat, and you can all of a sudden feel very stable. You can even add a little pelvic floor, and you're like, I am, right? All right, let's add arms a moment and just enjoy that feeling of the powerful, peaceful. This is really good. The other awareness we can add is, you know, those ribs, again, we have a tendency sometimes to jut them forward, and then there's also the head. So ideally, we would settle into a place, kind of a root and rise, tailbone to crown, where we just feel like a puppet kind of hanging from a string, except we've got all this rooting. And then we'll just briefly rotate palms open to the ceiling, reach from the heart out through the middle fingers. If you're ready, come on back to center, neutral. Rotate left foot 90, or your other foot, whichever one you didn't do before. Good. And again, put your hands and your fingers right on those faces. So it's like my fingertips are just to the outside of the pubic bone, essentially, and my palms are in that crease. Okay. And as you go a little back and forth, and hope you can feel how if you take your butt out to the left, first of all, again, it messes up your angle of your front thigh, now your knee and your hip are no longer light. But I can feel all kinds of tension in my right leg and my hip. My right hamstring is not happy in this angle. It's not neutral, it's not most fine. And then I'm going to swing my pelvis so my left butt cheek is tucking under, but it's going past neutral so that right hip is being hyper extended through the. And I'm using a lot of words to try and describe a very complicated body thing. If this is not clicking with you, I don't get what she's talking about. Let me know. Otherwise, when you can, swing into what you think is that beautiful neutral. Good. Maybe you've got a deeper lunge feel. Maybe you can scooch that front foot a little lower. Then as you're ready, check the neutrality of the hips, or the ribs, excuse me, the head. Reach out from the heart, middle fingers, spreading all to the ceiling. One more deep breath. Neutral those feet. Your choice to walk them back in. If you want to do a little ragdoll with the feet wide, you can. If you want to bring the feet in and do a ragdoll with mountain feet. I love ragdoll. It's just so simple and so profound. I mean, I love hanging out there, breathing, feeling the release through the low back, right? Especially if you take a big inhale, see if you can direct it to that sacral area, feeling the release in the hands. We're ready. Come on up and maybe just one more time, find that beautiful mountain stance, jet airplane arms. Right, let's lift up our neck. So I'm gonna have you take one hand, you're gonna take your right hand kind of up and over like so. And you're just gonna, I'm using my left hand to hold my hair on your way so you can see, but you're just going to squeeze the flesh at that kind of core neck position from the occipital ridge down to where the neck joins the shoulders or the body. And then you can do it with the other hand and notice that you can, you get a different massage. The fingers do a different thing than the palm does and get a little more manipulation there. Especially get right up into that area right below the occipital ridge. Don't hesitate to use those fingers to get in there. And then we're going to switch back to the right hand, and I'm going to have you, actually, no, you have your right hand, you're going to take it up and over on your left side. And I want you to be able to kind of make your fingers very strong. So I'm kind of putting them together, and I've got my little thumb clicked in. So I'm just creating a poker, all right? And I'm going to put my poker, lovingly, right here. So if you go kind of to that knobby part of the spine, the dowager stump, as a lot of people call it, and you just go a little to the left of that, somewhere in this line is some good stuff. And when you take your left arm into like a goalpost position and you rotate, you should be able to feel the massage happening.
Or the crepitus.
What?
Or the crepitus.
The decrepitus?
The crepitus is like, the grinding of it.
Oh, I've not heard that. The crepitus. Yes. Is there anybody not feeling anything? No? Oh, good. You're welcome. I just taught you your own free massage. You don't have to pay anybody. All right. Go ahead and find the other side. Left hand coming up and over. You can create that kind of pressure poker. Again, just explore. It's a half an inch here or there could give you something very exciting. And even, without doing the arm movement, if you just use the other hand too to support the elbow and you just kind of circle with those fingers, you might get something good. And we're all different, and what feels good may vary a lot. I sometimes will then use my fingers to pinch the flesh between the root of my palm and my fingertips right at the top, that trapezius. That can feel kind of amazing. And especially if you then relax that arm outward and tuck the blade in, this area now gets relaxed. Something I did not show you when we were in the supported position with the towel is the self-massage. And it's great because you can do essentially what you're doing right now, and you can go back and you can squeeze this flesh because it's in the relaxed position. It's really fun. So when I massage people, when they are face down, I almost always put a towel, a folded towel, like a little block, if you will, under their shoulders to relax these muscles. Because everyone wants you to rub them, but I'm like, there's no point in rubbing something that's in the erected position. Like, that's just not happy for those guys. So cool. Any questions? Any thoughts? All right. Awesome. Nicely done, everyone. Finding a safe, I hope useful version of these things. We're going to come back to the mat under the block for our little dessert of putting the block under the sacral triangle. And again, positioning is so important. I want the upper part of the block kind of at that sacral triangle, that bony bit. I don't want it into the low back. So I really am covering, in a sense, the block with my butt. Right? And that way, usually you're in a good position for both alignments, which is knees bent can give us a little tractioning through the low back and an impetus to kind of release. So you keep your weight on your feet so you feel safe and secure, and you can kind of let the lower back kind of dump down. A lot of gardeners love this. And then the second position is straightening the legs, just draping your body over the block. And this is again amazing for stretching and opening the front line. If you feel any like sciatic nerve stuff or something, or your low back just is out, again, try repositioning your object, or using a softer one, or just come out. And we have here the luxury of breathing into an open space. I keep thinking about luxury after sharing that little zine with you guys, or the principles of the power of little luxuries. A morning with plenty of space and time to enjoy your coffee or conversation with a loved one, or the beauty you see out your window, whatever it might be. I got to watch an eagle take off from the road right in front of me this morning. That was pretty wonderful. Please stay here only as long as it feels really good to you, and then come off very slowly. Always bend your knees first, use the feet to raise the hips. And then you might bring knees to belly. You might do a little spinal rocking. Maybe you're craving spinal twist. Maybe you'd like to return for another round of pigeon or pigeon alternate, just to see if that has changed from some of the stretches that you did. Maybe you're looking for a strengthening or heat building pose to close your practice. Forearm plank is always a good one. And I love using it as also a chance to test, again, my kind of equal strength of my hips, thighs, and so on. So coming in forearm plank, you can first make sure you feel stable and strong, and then notice if you want to raise one foot at a time off the floor. Then just hovering. Maybe you want to move into a child's pose for a final hip stretch, or maybe that's even your resting posture. So as you are ready, you're going to move towards our shavasana and resting time. I also think of this as an integration time. It's really important, valuable. Let's just celebrate the incredible strength and resiliency that you did find today. And if you found areas that felt really tight and weak or ouchy, know that they're the smaller part of the story. They're an important part, right? We need to pay attention if we want evolution. But the majority of the story is strength, resiliency, vitality, ease. So as you find your resting shape, please just once again tune in. Soften all the muscles of the forehead, face, jaw, tongue, the neck, get liquid. Let all breath control go. But perhaps observe the beautiful breath rising and settling in a wave. In whatever position you choose, progressively give yourself to gravity. This moment, this body, this breath. Mhm. Please become lightly aware of the voice, inviting you to scan your body, gathering any insights, awarenesses of what patterns are there, what's needed, how to make. Was there anything particular in our practice that we did that you might want to repeat? Maybe the week. Continue whole and well and safe. Wishing you a deep sense of peace and joy. Goodness. Om Shanti Shanti. Om peace, peace. Namaste. So much all for being here today. Wake up with my little allergy self. For one, welcoming the cold temperatures that will take care of the Asian lady beetles and box elder bugs and be done. Look forward to seeing you at the mat next week.
Yeah.
Ciao, Jeannie.
Yep.
Thank you. Be well.
You too.
Thanks so much.